My husband and I had bought 2 duplexes, and that was kind of going to be our retirement. And then the city council was going to put in rental registration and come in, and they were going to inspect your homes. They were going to charge you for it and everything. And we had done what we felt was a very good job of taking care of our places. So I didn't feel it was fair at the time. And so I got involved in the government, and I got a petition going against it, and I got involved in the Taxpayers Association, and in that association they said we need people to run for office, and so I did. And the one thing what I thought was unfair about it is the city owned Trails Edge Apartments, and therefore they did not pay taxes or anything, where we were in competition with our own tax dollar, is the way I felt. So that's when I got involved, and it was one of the best experiences of my life. I don't think I could have learned from a book what I learned from my experiences being mayor and on the council. And I loved working with the community, working with people, helping them get, actually it's kind of just like getting them to the right source of information to get things resolved.
City council was a blast. I enjoyed city council. When I got on city council, we had Pat Rice, Dave Miller, Fran Minnick, Chuck Ackman, Kay Duchesne, and myself. And it was, as much as I knew them, I think sitting in the chair and being one of the members was a little bit overwhelming at first, because it was kind of like, wow, I'm actually a part of the city government, and the responsibilities that go with it. One quick story I have to tell you, and Kay Duchesne, I loved her to death. Nobody worked harder than Kay Duchesne. Nobody came more prepared for a meeting than Kay Duchesne. And I always sat right next to her. And the story is of my very first council meeting, and I coming in and kind of introducing myself, even though we knew each other, just on a first name basis, or nothing personal at all. And Kay looked at me with kind of a stern look, as she could have, and almost intimidating, and she said, "So why did you want to be on city council?" And I was a little taken back, and I looked at her and I hesitated for a while, and I said, Kay, I really wanted to ride on a fire truck. And she kind of did this, what? And she looked at me, and this big smile came over her face, and it was kind of like, all right, you're gonna be okay. So that's a story about Kay Duchesne that I've told many times, but she could be tough, but like I say, I respected her like crazy, because her preparedness was something that I always felt I had to be, try to live up to those standards.
I was so lucky when I came on. It was a veteran council. It was just, in many ways, it was a Mount Rushmore of the city council that I look to. Gary Kinseth, who was still just absolutely the best city council member I ever worked with. To have the luxury of me being on city council and coming in and being able to sit beside him and just watch and listen and learn. And you've had people like Pat Rice, and people who have kind of come and gone and maybe didn't leave a big footprint, but Judy Tartaglia was on the city council when I first joined. She worked at District 1 Hospital. She's long since moved out of Faribault, but Judy was professional and really good, and Judy kind of taught me how to be a council member. I was so lucky in so many ways that I had that luxury to come in and watch and learn and not have to do any heavy lifting for that first year until I could kind of figure out what the job was.
I didn't know anything about Robert's Rules of Order, and so I went to a parliamentarian in St. Paul because I worked in Minneapolis, and she said, it'll take me about 2 weeks to teach you. And I said, you have 2 hours, because she was charging me $75 an hour and I was probably making 25.
You really do learn when you're on council, and I think you need to be out in the public to some extent to show people what you're doing and encourage people. Like, I've talked to several people, I said, gosh, you'd really be good on this. Or planning commission is needing people. That you know, I really think you have it. I don't think it's for people who can't stand going to meetings. I have some friends that are very bright, whatever. They don't have the patience to sit in a meeting because sometime you heard something almost ad nauseum over and over and over again, and yet the more repetitive you are, that helps the people know a little bit more about what you're dealing with.
I had experience before with Robert's Rule of Parliamentary Procedure from the Masons. I'm a Master Mason at Faribault Lodge number 9. So I had the background and I knew, you know, at a 10,000 foot level what was going on. But it's interesting because what I didn't know and what I didn't anticipate was the amount of homework that you have to do every week before the council meetings. So on Fridays, Administrator Murray, he'll release the packet for the upcoming week, and sometimes there's 40 pages of reading and sometimes there's 400 pages of reading. So I underestimated the amount of homework that I'd have to do before every meeting.
Certainly some of the work was challenging in that you really had to do your reading. Then it was paper, now it comes on computers and stuff. But if you didn't know how you were going to vote when you got to the meeting, you probably hadn't done your homework.
I did learn that it's weak mayor, strong council. A lot of people would tell me how much power I had, and I would tell them, no, I have 1 vote. And it was everybody worked pretty much together. We didn't agree, but we worked together.
And it kind of goes back to how well our city council ran back in my early days on council. To give you an idea of how well our council would work, we could go into a meeting and not be 100% on a particular topic. There could be dissension across the table and, you know, some very fiery, you know, discussion amongst all of us. But once the vote was done, whether it was in the favor that you wanted or against it, when we got done, everybody was able to put it behind us and move on, and nobody carried grudges, and that's why I alluded to the fact that we had a city council that worked very well together. You know, we could discuss things as simply or as strenuously as we wanted to, but at the end of the day, when the vote was done, we were able to move on and put it behind us.
I think that's what drives you, is basically your own morals and what you feel is right and everything. And what you feel is right for you kind of has to change, because now you have to know what's right for the community. It's not about you. And so I think you have to think a lot about the community, not about yourself or anything, but I mean, your morals do drive you and your perspective on things, and you know, whether you're conservative or liberal, that all drives you from within.
If you have even just an inkling of a desire to get involved, I would say go for it, because in Faribault, being a close-knit community, you'll see your voice being heard and you'll see changes happening. So if you're passionate about our community, our downtown, get involved.